What's up guys, Jacko here, and today I'm going to tell you why your child should start wrestling right now. Before I begin, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. Every Sunday I'm doing wrestling specific content. Alright, so when I say child, I mean kids ranging anywhere from age 3 all the way to high school. But the earlier they start wrestling, the better off they're gonna be. And I'm gonna tell you exactly why right now. The earlier they start wrestling, the more fun they're gonna have. Now, obviously, this is subjective based on the kid, but in my experience, youth-based wrestling practices are just a lot more fun than middle school and high school wrestling practices. And that's the way it should be. When you first start wrestling, you need to worry about learning the sport and having fun with it before you're even concerned about winning. I think at the high school level, a lot of the coaches are over-concerned with winning. So a lot of their practices are intense and not really geared towards beginners because in the back of their head, they're just worried about winning. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you're a beginner in the sport and you're just starting in high school, you're going to have a competitive disadvantage because it's all going to be about winning, and depending on the coach, not really geared towards the fun aspect. Wrestling is a hard sport, and I think it's really important to maintain that fun aspect in it because that's why we do a sport. That's why we sign up for sports, is to have fun with it. Wrestling practices are hard and they're tough. So you need to make sure you're doing fun elements. Now, I've personally wrestled at the youth, middle school, and high school levels. And in my personal experience, there are a lot more fun-based games at the youth level than there are the higher you go up. Another advantage to starting earlier, younger in life, is the younger you are, the quicker you are to pick up skills. Now, I've coached high school and youth, and I can tell you personally that the youth kids are like sponges. You teach them one move, and they have it pretty much mastered in a matter of minutes. And you teach that same move to a high schooler, and they're drawing blanks. I mean, it takes a while for them to pick it up compared to the youth kids. Now, I've coached kids who take a longer time to pick up moves, and a lot of times they get frustrated with themselves to the point where they want to quit because they don't think they're any good at it. They're more worried about winning and being good than they are about going through the process and learning the nuances of the sport and having fun with it. When you're at the youth level, sure, winning is important, but it's kind of in the back of the mind. No coaches or parents are really going to be all that upset with their child if they don't win a match. They're really more concerned if they're having a good time, they're having fun with it, and they're enjoying themselves. Wrestling is also the perfect sport for all those hyper kids who love to run around and need to let loose so they can exert their energy. It's a full body contact sport. However, it's not as dangerous as you may think. Sure, it's a contact sport, but it's a controlled contact sport, meaning you're only ever a few inches away from your opponent. So it's not like you're running at full speed against them like you are in other sports such as football and soccer. There's also a bunch of studies out there that show wrestling is amongst one of the lowest sports with concussion rates. Surprisingly, soccer is one of the highest. Think about it. If the ball comes at you and it hits your head, or someone comes running behind you and accidentally trips you and you fall down, those are a lot more injury prone than wrestling, which is a more controlled sport. Your opponent is always right in front of you. Now, I'm not saying that injuries don't happen in wrestling, because they do, like any sport. You're gonna get bumps and bruises, but if anything, it teaches you character and it makes you stronger. So I don't think there's really any reason why you shouldn't join wrestling because you think it's dangerous. Another reason you should start wrestling right now is because it is one of the fairest sports out there from a size perspective. In wrestling, you only compete against kids that are your same exact weight. This keeps things fair and, more importantly, safe. If your weight class is 100 pounds and you weigh 99 pounds, that means you will not wrestle anyone higher than 100 pounds. Now, I'm going to share with you a few things that you need to avoid. Please avoid when you first start wrestling. Do not cut weight. And I can't emphasize this enough. A major part of this sport is kids dropping down a weight class for a competitive advantage. And I'm telling you right now, it is not worth it. First of all, one, it's not healthy. And number two, it's just not worth it. Trust me, from my experience, it's not worth it. Kids running around in garbage bags, going into saunas, riding bicycles in saunas, in a garbage bag, trying to make weight. That sounds awful and very concerning. What happens when you worry about cutting weight that way is that you're actually doing more harm than good. You think you're at an advantage because you're at a lower weight class, but by the time you get down to that weight class, you are going to be so sucked out of energy that you're not going to compete at a high level. If you don't worry about your weight and you just compete at your natural weight, you're going to feel 100% and be able to give your 100% effort. I think wrestling gets a bad rap sometimes because of those few that have to ruin it for everyone, who are skipping meals, who are doing sauna suits and all this stuff that is very unhealthy. I had a lot of experience with teammates of mine using laxatives. Avoid. Just don't even listen to them. Do not be swayed by them. Do not do that at all costs. Do not worry about your weight when you first start, because that is not fun. No other sport has to go through that. When you first start, you need to worry about getting better and developing your skills. Do not worry about your weight for a competitive advantage. It doesn't make any sense. The other thing you need to avoid is burnout. And this is very, very, very real. A lot of kids, when they first start, they feel like they need to keep going and they never take a break. And then by the time they get to high school, they've been wrestling all these years, they're done. They don't want anything to do with it. You need to make sure that you are taking breaks when you need them. I think a lot of coaches are more concerned about go, go, go. We need to train. Your opponent is training out there. We need to compete. We need to do this. But there's not really an emphasis about rest. Sometimes the best thing that you can do in wrestling is to get away from wrestling and take a break. Let your mind relax and then come back in a few weeks ready to go. Here are the reasons why you should start wrestling right now. One, the earlier you start, the more fun you're gonna have with it. You're gonna develop skills a lot quicker, you're gonna pick up moves a lot quicker, and you're gonna have more experience down the road. This will overall lead to more success in the sport. And if winning means a lot to you, then you want to start off early so you have that experience. And trust me, winning is definitely fun. It's one of the most fun parts of the sport. Number two, it is fair and it is safe. There are a lot less injuries than you may think compared to other sports. It's also one of the only sports in which competitors are the same exact size. Now, I know that we're in the middle of a pandemic, but I'm optimistic that wrestling will come back to normal very soon. In the meantime, go ahead and check out some of my other wrestling related videos so you could get started wrestling at home right now. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, share this with your friends, and I will see you next time.